I've continued my push of cleaning out the house, decluttering, going through closets and drawers and all kinds of things like that. Yesterday I spent the entire day in the dangerous room and I completed it. I got it all done. Now, if you've not watched our videos for a really long time, you're probably thinking, oh my goodness, what is the dangerous room? That sounds terrible. I'm glad my house doesn't have a dangerous room in it. Well, I'll tell you the story real quick about it. When Corey and Katie were just babies, they're the only children we have. We have, 3 bedrooms, but we put them together, had one nursery, put them both in there. And the other room it had a bed in it, so if someone come to stay with us, it was like a guest room. Also had our office in it, and of course it just become a catch-all for all kinds of different things. Well, as they began to get mobile and able to move, we didn't want them in there because there was all kinds of stuff in there that, it wasn't baby-proofed, in other words. So we had one of those, I don't know if you've seen them before, the door locks on the door that you have to push in to actually get the door to open. And so we had that on there when they got big enough to try to reach up and get in. And at some point, I don't know if it was Matt or me, we started saying there's dangerous things in there. You can't play in there, it's dangerous. And somehow that turned into the dangerous room. And eventually we all started calling it that. And even when they were big enough to want in there, but I wouldn't let them, we'd say, it's a dangerous room, you can't go in there. And one day they convinced me to let them in there to play while Matt was at work, of course. And I don't know which one of them, that neither would fess up, but one of them plugged up the iron. That's where I had my ironing board too. And they laid the iron down in the carpet. So I had a perfectly shaped iron burn in the carpet. And of course Matt said, you should have known better, you shouldn't have let them in there. Anyway, after that, and as they got older, and then of course they could, they could be trusted to go in there and play or do something with the office stuff, or maybe we had a piano in there, play the piano. We still called it the dangerous room. We just all still kept calling it that, the dangerous room. Where's this? It's in the dangerous room. Look in there. Shut the dangerous room door. I don't want Ruby in there. I'm working on a painting or something like that. Our little dog Ruby. So we all just called it the dangerous room until Corey got to be about, I think she was about 16. She decided she wanted to be in her own room. Well, there was lots of times when they were little they would do that. They would get in a fight with each other and then they would say, I want my own room. I just can't stand my sister anymore. I want my own room. I want to move into the dangerous room, because of course it already had a bed in it. And I'd always say, okay, that's fine. You just prove to me that you can sleep in there. You stay in there all night by yourself and you prove to me, and then we'll make that happen. We'll let you have your own room. Well, they could never, both of them at different times, neither one of them could ever sleep in there by themselves, because by the time night come, they wanted their sister and the fight was forgotten, Anyway, when Corey got to be about 16, she decided she really did want her own room, and it'd be good for her and be good for Katie to have her own room. And so it's a Herculean effort, but we got rid of all the stuff in there, including the piano. And Corey made that her room. So then, of course, it just became Corey's room. He's in Corey's room, Corey's in her room, whatever. And until Corey got married, it was the strangest thing. Once she moved out and left, it was just like overnight, me and Matt and Katie started calling it the dangerous room again. It just seamlessly went back to being the dangerous room. So that's what we call it today, and that's just a crazy story of how it come to be that name. But that's it. Someone told me this morning on the blog, and I'm sorry that I can't remember the name of the commenter, but said that similar situation where a little child would go to their grandparents' house, and there was a room where they kept their pantry, all their canned goods and that kind of stuff, and creative kind of stuff in there, different things. And that he said it was that's the beautiful room. And so then it become, the beautiful room, and then people in their family, they all, had beautiful rooms. It just become a thing in their family. So I think that's really sweet. Anyway, yesterday when I was going through the dangerous room, and today we use it there's still a bed in there, so if someone comes, and still some office stuff. There's a computer, there's a big desk, there's all that, and that's where we ship all of our cookbooks. Katie ships her jewelry, all that kind of stuff, and it is still a catch-all too. If you don't know what to do with something, you take it to the dangerous room and shut the door. So it was really nice to go through it and clean out, and a lot of stuff I can donate, share with others, sent some stuff home with Corey. I've got some stuff for Paul and for Granny, so it's nice to do that. But one thing I found as I went through, I found a whole envelope full of pictures. I just kept stuffing them in here until it got pretty full. I had pictures. I had like a little, like an office organizer, which I never really used except to stack stuff in that I needed to do something with. I just needed to do it. So yesterday I'm like, you're going to do something with all that and you're going to give that to someone who could really use it in an office or something. I think it come from Miss Cindy. But some of the pictures were in there. Some of them were just stuck in drawers in the desk. Some of them was in different places. But it was pictures that either maybe a friend or somebody had given me, or ones that I was going to do something with. I thought I want to scan those and put them in the computer, and maybe I'll share them on the Blind Pig and the Acorn. That'd be a good picture I could use for this, or I should share that picture. I should do this. Anyway, I never did any of that. So yesterday I was like, I've got to at least put them all together, and then that's going to be my goal that I'm going to have to work on, is actually getting them on the computer or do whatever it was I was going to do with them. And one thing I'm going to do with a lot of them is, for Christmas, I got Granny a digital frame, and she's enjoyed it so much. We got her one years and years ago. I don't know who bought it, maybe Paul, but this is a nicer, bigger one. And she's already had me add pictures on it once, and then she sent me home with some more pictures to put on it. So I think I'll put a lot of these on there too, and she'll enjoy seeing them. But I thought you might also enjoy seeing them, so I'm going to let you go through them with me today, and you can see what we used to look like back in the day. This is a picture of Pap and Granny and Katie and Corey when they were little. I think that was Easter, I'm guessing. There's Granny's pretty pink dogwood blooming. You can see the daffodils blooming. It looks like the girls have got on little Easter dresses. A couple of Christmases ago, I had this one made, 2 of these made and framed, and I give them to Katie and Corey for Christmas. There's another one of Pap and Granny and the girls. This is up here at our house a long time ago. I don't have any of this furniture anymore. Thinking about it, I don't have none of that stuff on the walls. But that was a long time ago. You can see they loved Pap and Granny, and they were being silly. Looks like Pap was telling a big story. This is actually a much more recent one. These are my friends, Shannon and Ginger and Julia. We got together last night, actually, and got to eat and spend some time together. So this was a few years ago, though. This is Julia's girls on the end, and they have really grown since then. So this has probably been, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, maybe. This is one of us, me and Corey and Matt and Katie. And this was on a trip to Hazel Creek. We went across the Fontana Lake, went to that Hazel Creek area, and we were on one of the cemetery trips. And I don't remember which one. I want to say that might have been Bone Valley, but that was during the day when everybody had stopped and, were having eating their dinner, kind of having like a picnic, but it's really just you're eating your dinner. And you can see we've got our lunch boxes with us, and looks like Katie's working on her homework, which makes me really sad now. I wish she hadn't had to take homework with her on a trip like that, but we love to go there. We hadn't been in a long time as a family. Me and Corey got to go just before she had Woodrow, but it's a beautiful, beautiful place. And here's some of the old ones. This is Charlie Jenkins. You can see this is Granny's daddy. And this is Granny's daddy and her mother. It's Gazzy and Charlie. Here's another one of Gazzy. Isn't that sweet with the poinsettia? This is a really sweet one that I'd actually been looking for. This is me and Corey, or me and Katie there on top, and then Matt and Corey on the bottom. And this is in Black Mountain. Actually, I guess this is more like Monterey, and we went to a 4th of July parade, so we had been at Miss Cindy's, and we went up there to watch the parade. Sweet girls. This is a really old one. This is my brother Steve, me in the middle there, and Paul, and it was at Christmas. You can see at Granny's. I like how I've got my hand around Paul's shoulders. That's sweet. My clothes look kind of pitiful, but I really loved that. I remember that skirt, and I loved it. It was like wool. You can see Frosty down there in the corner. A long time ago, Christmas at Granny's. This is my brother Steve. The picture looks like it's seen better days, but wasn't he cute? He was adorable. He's got the same big brown eyes that I do. This is another one. This is one of my favorites of Granny's father, Charlie, or Charles. Charlie, they called him Charlie. Look at him. He looks real serious in this one. I don't remember him. He died just before I was born or just after I was born. I can't remember for sure, but Steve remembers him. He has good memories of him. This is one of Granny there herself and her grandfather. That's a really nice one. You can see I like her little heart pin she's got on. She really loved her grandfather a lot. This is one of Paul sitting outside picking and grinning. You can see Pap's leg right there. He was with him. There's one of me and Granny Gazzy from a long time ago. I had the crazy hair and I had some odd shirt on, if you ask me, but I like it. Look at those clothespins behind her there. I like that, or behind me. I like Granny's dress and her pin. This is Granny when she was young. Look at that beautiful dress. Isn't that pretty? So pretty. Here's another one of Granny when she was young. Very pretty. And this is another one of Granny, but this is her brother George with her there. And I wonder whose the kids are. I don't think those are Steve or, I guess they're George's kids. They're Carol Jane and Lloyd, I would guess, is who that is. I like that, though. That's nice. Granny looks so young. Cute kids, too. Oh, this is one of my all-time favorites, and I'm so glad I found it in there. This is Granny and Pap, and I have no clue who took it. If I took it, I'm guessing Paul probably took it, but I don't know. And I don't know what, if people have been feeling bad or what was going on, but you can see Granny laying down taking a nap, and I guess Pap decided he's going to take one too, and he just laid down on the back of Granny there. But I just love that picture, and I guess Granny made that throw that she's covered up with. You have to tell me if you remember those old couches like that had wood around them. This is not a picture, it's just a postcard, but that's Lake Logan. That's where I worked when I met Matt. Beautiful, beautiful place. Another one of Granny Gazzy. Granny told me she made that dress for her, and that's why she took the picture, so she wanted to see how pretty she was in the dress. Another one of Gazzy and Charlie. I love this one. If you read The Blind Pig and Acorn, you've probably seen it before. You can see they're preparing, looks like, for Thanksgiving with the turkey there. I just love it. This is another one of Granny's grandfather. Another one of Granny Gazzy. This is one I hadn't seen in a long, long time. That's Pap right there. I think that's Papa Wade. And then I think these gentlemen are, I can't remember, I know who they are, Jimmy and Ronnie and David, I think. They were my Aunt Hazel's sons. I can't remember which is which, though, from seeing them like that. And then I think that's my Uncle Henry sitting right there in between them. But they've come out to visit, I guess, and everybody's standing around talking outside. I'm not sure why they's all standing on the bank. Maybe they was trying to get out of the sunshine, get in the shade there. And it's Paul and Pap. I always liked this one because it looks like Pap's instructing Paul about the guitar. I don't know if he was or if he's telling him about something else. One of Granny Gazzy. This one is nice of Gazzy and Charlie, and Granny told me they were just being silly that day. Somebody had the gun and somebody had the guitar, and they were just kind of being silly, but I love the picture. This is one that come from Dolly, where my apron that I recently shared. So this would have been someone in Miss Cindy's family, but this is one of the ones that sadly nobody knows who it is, but that's where it come from. They are a very handsome looking couple though, aren't they? This one come from there too. Again, you know, nice looking folks, but we don't know who they are. Miss Cindy didn't know either. This is one too from them. I'm thinking that's up on the parkway somewhere. Another nice couple from Dolly. Now one of these, that one right there, might be Miss Cindy's mother, Bonnie. That looks kind of like Bonnie. And this one is Bonnie. This was Miss Cindy's mother. Here's one of me and Granny Gazzy. I like Granny's outfit, purple, swirly there, and then I'm in purple too, I match. This is a really good one of Matt, up in the woods. Look at his big mustache there. This is a funny one. This is Katie being silly. She's got my high heels on, and I don't know what kind of get up she's got on, but she was certainly being silly. And you can see at that time I had a red kitchen. And I had wallpaper, checkered wallpaper. Pat put that wallpaper up for me. I painted the red. This is a really, really good one. Papa Tony holding Katie and Corey. This is Katie, and this is Corey. I like that one a lot. This is one I hadn't seen in a long time either. That's me and Matt and the girls, and that is at the Pisgah Inn a long time ago. Pisgah Inn. The girls were just little, and we went to see Miss Cindy, and her friend Bill Green took us up there to eat. I have no memory of eating. I remember I got deathly car sick because I was riding in the back seat with both of the girls in their car seats, and I get car sick easy anyway, but that was the first time they ever went out to eat. That was it. There's one of me and the girls. When I look at Corey and Katie, I never think they look alike. I never have until I see them in pictures. And then sometimes I have to think about it. I have to think about who's who. But this is Katie and that's Corey. But they look very similar. And then you can see me there and that weird, strange swing that Miss Cindy had. This picture was took way back, a long time ago, before the girls were even thought about, when me and Matt was dating, and that's took from Shining Rock up in there, Shining Rock Wilderness. Isn't that beautiful? That's Granny's brother, Junior. I don't know why the picture was, what else was in the picture, but somebody cut it out real small. Maybe they put it in a frame. And then you can see I've done this one, I guess, to put in a frame, but that's Katie, and Miss Cindy was holding her. There's a good one of me and Paul at Christmas at Granny's when we were little. She made, of course, Granny made our hats there. This is at Granny Gazzy's. Boy, I wish I could go back and eat one more time, eat all that good food. But that's my Uncle Woodrow that I talk about sometimes. That's Granny, and that's Granny Gazzy and me. It's not a really good picture, but that's us. This is a great old picture of Granny and her cousins, and some of her siblings are in there too, but that one right there is Granny. They're eating, getting to enjoy some watermelon. And here's one of my cousins, mine and Paul's. It's me and Paul in a chair and Maria. And during the summer, we've probably been playing or goofing off. Who knows what we've been doing. Katie and Corey. Again, that's hard for me to tell when I look at it, but I think that's Katie in the front and Corey in the back. That's at Papa and Nana's. This is my steps that you see so much in the yard. This is when Matt was actually building them, so it's him building my steps a long time ago. Here's a really good one. This is Papa Tony and Uncle Sam. Looks like they're cooking up something good to eat on the stove there, and probably cooking up some trouble too. Matt, a long time ago, and down in Georgia at the lake. I don't remember what the name of the lake is, but we've been fishing. This is one of my favorite ones here. This was at Miss Cindy's, and we went for Mother's Day. And actually, I remember the time because Bonnie was also there. So there was the generations of Matt's family, Bonnie and Miss Cindy and Matt, and then his children, which was real nice. And there's pictures of that somewhere. I don't know where they're at, though. But that was, somebody took that picture, and that was me and Katie. I just think it's one of the sweetest pictures. It's one of my favorites of me and her. She looks so sweet. She was, I don't know if she was sleepy and about to fall asleep, or if they just happened to catch her with her eyes closed. You can see, though, she was a little chubby baby. And this one is not old at all. You see, there's me and Jim and some lovely folks. Let's see. Clark and Cheryl Richardson and Corey back there in the middle of them at one of our cookbook signings. Really nice. Here's another one of my friends and me. This has been a couple of years ago too. For a long time, every time after we ate, Ginger usually would insist that we took a picture, and then one of us, usually Shannon, she's the one that takes care of us. Shannon's like the one that handles all of our stuff. She's the best. She would laminate them, print them out and laminate them, and then give them to us. But we didn't take a picture last night, and I don't think we took one the time before either. Oh, here's another one. You can see this one's laminated too. Boy, I had some hair going on that one. That's funny. That was several years ago too, though. Here's one of Pap's old license. You can barely see him in there. This is a unique photo. When we used to go stay, a week or so with Papa and Nana in the summer, we would go around Canton to all the little stores, and there was a hardware store. I want to say it might have been, Katie, what was the name of that hardware store? Cold Mountain? In Canton?
Hometown Hardware?
The one that was on the corner there that had the stuff in the back?
Oh, that one, I don't know.
Well, Katie don't know either. Anyway, it had in the back of it, it had a lot of antique or junk, whatever you want to call it. But it just had tons of pictures of, I guess, where people, you know, their families all died out and then somebody donated their pictures. And so I just could never resist going through those pictures and buying some of them. They were, I mean, they'd give you like a handful for 10 cents. But this is one of them. But I don't know, have any clue where it come from, if it was, you know, somewhere in western North Carolina, if it was, you know, out west, where it was at. But isn't it an amazing photo? Look at, you just think about the hard day of work they've had. I'm guessing that they were gathering fodder. I just loved it, and I've held on to it all these years. This is another one that was from that store. It's just paper. It's not even like it is a photo, but it's so old it's just paper. But look at her beautiful dress. Isn't that amazing? I don't know who she is, but she's part of my collection now. There's me and Paul. You can see I've got the 80s hair going, and he's playing the guitar. Looks like that might have been at Christmas, too. I see a Frosty over there. This is some of my relatives, some of my Wilson relatives. This is in a graveyard. It's in a cow pasture on top of the mountain in Madison County. And that was one of the gravestones there. You can see behind there's some more. Here's one of me and Paul. Again, I've got the 80s hair going. And Paul's looks like he's playing, and I must be getting ready to go somewhere or do something. Here's one of Matt riding a horse. He did lots of riding horses when he was young. Pap and Paul out in the backyard picking and grinning. I like how Pap's got his pants stuck down in his boots. He normally did not wear them like that, but for whatever reason he did that day. This is another one of those photos that come from that store. So I don't know who that is, but you can see they've got a dog. And here's some more. Look at this one with all those people dressed up. And the ladies have on those hats with the flowers. Isn't that just amazing? And this is one I like that come from that store. It looks like they're dynamiting, maybe, drilling holes. And I always wondered, is that, like I said, it could be out west. It could be anywhere. But in my mind, I immediately thought of all the TVA dams, and I thought, I wonder if it has something to do with that. But, of course, it could be even in another country. I don't know where it come from. I've used this one on the blog before, too, when I scanned it in, and I could make the lady show up a little better. But it's neat, from that same store. That one's from the store, too. He's fishing. Now, look at these two sweet girls. This is Corey and Katie, how you could take them and... you know, dress up like old-timey and have your picture made. So this is Katie and that's Corey. I really like those photos. Here's another one of them. This one's Katie and that's Corey. And this is the first time they ever saw the ocean. This was their 8th grade trip to the Outer Banks, and that was the first time they'd ever seen the ocean. And it was cold. It was in the spring of the year, but there was nothing to stop them. And you see they've got pants on, nothing to stop them but to get in the water, and that's what they did. This is a really sweet one. That's Bonnie and Miss Cindy. So that one's really sweet. I don't know that I've ever noticed, but look, there's a little dog back there in the back. I don't think I've ever noticed that before. Amazing. Here's another one of from the Wilson. Actually, this one's not from the Wilson graveyard that I just showed you, but it is in Madison County. And this one is really unique because you can see there, this is Benjamin Bird Wilson and then Dora Graham Wilson. This was my Papa Wade's mother and father. But the interesting part is Benjamin is not really buried there. He has a grave. He's buried here in Magus Chapel, and his grave is there. But his children wanted him to be, you know, symbolic that he was there with their mother. She had died when Papa Wade was about 12 years old. And then he eventually remarried. Interesting story. He eventually remarried my mama's mother. So then that combined the two families. Anyway, so that's interesting. It looks like he's buried there, but he's really not. His real grave is in Magus Chapel here in Brasstown. This is Miss Cindy's family. I don't know who's who, but that's some of them, and maybe they were on a trip or something. This is one that was from Dolly's. Isn't that a sweet little... No, let's see. That looks like that says $1, so I don't think that was from Dolly's. I bet I bought it in that store. Little boy. I wish I knew who they were. I could return them to the people they belong to. I think that was from the store too, just a house. Isn't that interesting how it's built off the ground? This is Miss Cindy's father, Curtis, and then I'm not sure, I guess that's one of his siblings, but I don't know their name. But isn't that a pretty little picture? When I look at him, I see Matt and Corey. Here's some yahoos for you. These are all Pap and Granny's grandkids. This is Mark and Corey and April and Katie and Ben. And you can see the boys are being really serious and the girls are being really silly. And that's how it typically was. The boys were serious and the girls were unbearably silly. This is, again, Miss Cindy's daddy, Curtis, there, and the two of his siblings. And this little girl right here is Miss Cindy. This is one from Miss Cindy's grandmother. Isn't that neat? It almost looks sandy, but then they're on horses, which, of course, back then, even if you was at the beach, you'd rode horses, but it's interesting. Of course, I don't know who it is or what they were doing. And there's kind of other ones took around that same tree that day. Here's Corey and Katie, and you can see this is our backyard. So all of you that, if you watch our videos regularly, you'll know. This is the corner of the house. So back in there, like around that corner, is where the greenhouse is and all that. And you can see how different it looked. This is before we had any grading, and you can see that's just all the yard we had right there. And it was took up by a sandbox and a swing set, a couple of chairs. And that is Corey with the dog, Bill. That's Wild Bill, if you've ever heard us talk about Wild Bill. He was my brother's dog, Steve's family. I don't know if he's technically Ben's or April's or Mark's or just whoever, a family dog, but he was a character, and he lived a long, long time. There's so many times over the years it was like, Bill's going to die. We know, he'd been in a fight, he'd got sick, he'd done this, and then he'd pull out of it. He was just the toughest dog you ever seen. But you can see Corey and Katie loved him, and they'd been outside playing that day. It looks totally different, though, than it does today. Here's one of me way back in the day. That's me and Ben. So Ben was the first grandchild of Granny and Paps, and, of course, made me an aunt for the first time. Look at him. Wasn't he cute? It looks like I needed to have held his head a little better. That's a long time ago. This one came from Miss Cindy's grandmother, and I loved it because of just I don't know exactly who they all are, but I love the date and then the pray for peace, that part. I'm glad that she stuck it on the envelope and left it like that. There's little Katie. This is one of the ones that her teachers would have made at school and sent home. Wasn't she cute? That's Uncle Henry in Vietnam. That was a really precious one, of course. Corey's senior picture. This one's really sweet to me. These are when the girls were very first born, of course. That's me, and this is my Aunt Jean. And, of course, she's been gone a long time now, but wasn't they sweet? This is Corey, and that's Katie. I just know because Katie had so much more hair, and you can stick it out, see it sticking out there. So that was really sweet. I forgot I even had that. This is Katie, probably at Chuck E. Cheese or somewhere like that. This is a Christmas tree picture from Miss Cindy. I think that was her tree when she was growing up, like one of the years at Christmas, but look at it. It's a pretty tree, and look at the presents. This is Katie's kindergarten picture. Her and Corey both look so solemn in their pictures. They were kind of backward and they wouldn't smile, but they are the most precious pictures to me, both of them. I wish I had one of Corey's to show it to you beside it. But everybody said, oh, they look so sad. But to me, they didn't look sad. They just looked angelic, I guess, if you will. They just looked so precious. But both of them had the same expression. And there's Corey at Chuck E. Cheese. That must have been the same day, probably a school trip. Now, a moment ago when I showed the gravestone where Benjamin is actually in Maggie's chapel, this is Dory, so Dora, but Dory, I think they called her. That was his first wife. That was my papa's mother. And she died, though, when she was in her 30s from what they called consumption. So I don't know if that was tuberculosis. I'm not sure what that was. And these are her brothers on either side of her, though. But that's her. Another one of Granny Gazzy. I like her hair, how she's got it fixed. Looks a lot like Granny, don't it? And that's Granny and Pap, probably either went to church or coming home from church. And that hill behind them is the hill that we were sliding down in the snow at Granny, so you can see how much it's growed up since those days, how all the trees and stuff have grew closer together. That's a really nice picture, though, of them. Oh, and here's a real funny one. Now, this one was cut out because I had it in a frame for a long time, but that's Katie and Corey. They both would do that. They would just randomly bend over like that. I don't know, it was some kind of game they come up with, which was really funny. And that paper box back there, that was a way to block them from going back in the corner there where there was a bookshelf. I just thought of that. I hadn't thought about that in years. But that was funny. One day they were doing it both together, and I was like, I got to take a picture of this. Oh, here it is. Yay, here's the other one of Corey. So let me see if I can find the other. What did I do with the one of Katie? You can see. So this was their kindergarten school pictures. So serious, but so precious to me. Here's a good one of, you can see the stair steps, the way we were, Steve, me, and Paul, in front of Granny and Pap's, probably going to church one Sunday morning. I look really exhausted and distraught in this one, but this was probably the day after or the next day when I come home from the hospital with Katie and Corey, and this is Katie and that's Corey. Again, because of the hair, I can tell. I look kind of pitiful, don't I? I can see I've got some pillows propped up on me. Another one of Paul and Pap picking and grinning that same day. This is a really good one I forgot I had, and I know Granny will be happy if I put this one on there. This was at church, and that's Mark and Ben in the back, and then Katie and April and Corey. And Granny had bought those dresses, so they were all dressed alike, and then she had made those hats. I don't know what happened to April's hat. She probably just didn't have it on. They were all dressed up. This is Pap and Granny. Probably taken not too long before Daddy died. Here's one of them, Pap and Granny. Christmas again, you can see all the stockings. You see the big picture of me there. This is Miss Cindy's family. I don't know who any of them are except that's her. I know that. That's her there in the middle. Here's me. This was a long time ago, but it was took at the folk school in the cooking class in the cooking studio there. Here's more of the Wilson graveyard up on the top of the pasture. More random houses that was from the store. Look at those old cars. I liked this one. Look at all those cats. But again, I don't know who those people are, where this was took from, where it was taken from. I don't know, again, what he's doing. I always like that one. I've used that one on the blind pig and the Acorn. More from the Wilson Cemetery. That's Corey. One year, Granny took all of their pictures with the Santa hat, and then she made something out of them the next year. This is one of my favorites, too. That's Pap and April. Isn't that sweet? Sweet, sweet. My nephew, Mark. Wasn't he cute? And that was Katie in her hat that year. And that was April. Cute April. And that was Miss Cindy. I don't know who took it, but she had one of these framed in her house. Look at all those beautiful roses. Bill Green may have took that. But that's really a beautiful picture of her. And that was in California. She told me the name of the place, but I can't remember. But where there's beautiful roses. It's like a park or a garden or something like that. So that was all the ones I found, other than, let's see, I found these two things with the pictures. This was a membership card, Community Cannery, Jerry Wilson, 1970, 1975. He paid $5, paid to Brasstown Cannery, and that's Janice Carringer, who we know and love. I'm guessing this was the cannery that the folk school had at one time. I'm guessing that's what that was. Looks like one of us kids have marked all over it, though, on there. And then this was some sort of license that was Daddy's. Looks like he's carried it a long time in his wallet. I could never figure out exactly what kind of license it is. On the back, he had Junior Jenkins. That was one of Mother's brothers that lived in Michigan. And then I don't know what that is, but you can tell he carried that a long time. And that was all of them. I can't resist showing you, though, the most recent ones that Granny wanted me to put in. Maybe I can do it without the glare, to add to her frame that she sent home with me. That's Pap and my Aunt Dot. That's Granny's, one of Granny's older sisters. She's no longer with us now, but that was, they went to visit her. That's Katie and Corey there. This is Katie and that's Corey. That's one of that same day took here with me and the girls. That's them swinging. They were so little. Look at them. They could barely hold their little heads up, and I put them in those swings. And that's Granny holding one of them. That's Corey. Granny holding Corey. Granny looks so young. And that's Corey. Sweet. That's me holding both of them, and I still look pretty rough. This has been a little bit, though, because you can see Corey's lost most of her hair. Katie didn't really lose all of hers. Another one of Granny and Corey. Another one of me. Somebody had their finger over the thing. There's Pap reading a Western. And there's a good one of Pap. Another one of Pap. There's Pap and Matt talking, and that was at Christmas. Another one of Pap. I can see why she wanted me to put all these in here of Daddy. That was when some of Granny's family had come to visit. So that's a lot of us just getting together to visit. It's actually Lucky, Granny's brother, that just died. Some of his family, his daughters and grandkids. There's Pap's Marine. He was handsome, wasn't he? His Marine photo. And that's one of all of us. That was at Christmas. This is, see, it's hard to tell, but I think that's Corey. That's April. That's Katie, Mark, Ben, Granny, Steve, Kim, Matt, Pap, and me. And I guess Paul was taking the photo. We'd usually do that, let somebody take the photo, and then we'd swap out and let somebody else take it. I look real serious, don't I? I don't look that happy, but I'm sure I was. And looks like the girls got that was Katie, because that snake around her neck, that was a stuffed animal that me and Nana found at Toys R Us in Asheville. And she loved that snake. So that was probably more pictures than you ever wanted to see of our family, but I do hope you enjoyed seeing some of them. I'm always glad when you stop by to help me celebrate Appalachia. And, you know, that's my life. That's my life here in Appalachia. Those are the things that I've shared with you today.